Welcome, everyone. I know many of you. For those that I don't know, uh, I'm Geoff O'Keefe. I'm the executive director of Zen Peacemakers, which is a real honor that I get to do this. Um, I feel really fortunate that I get to be part of this community. And so this is, as many of you know, because you've been in so many of these sessions, we do a Peacemaker Circle gathering like this once a week anyway, sometimes twice a week. And the idea of it is relatively short. It's about 90 minutes, and we try to move around kind of the periphery of topics that Zen Peacemakers is engaged in or focused on. And you know what these all are. These could be conflict, war and peace, racism, gender issues, the environment, imprisoned people, refugees, treating people badly in the cities of the United States, and on and on. So sometimes it's pure the arts, sometimes pure dharma. So that's what we're here for today. So thank you. We are recording today, and so if you have other people who maybe intended to join today, or for some reason if you want to revisit this, the recording will be up at zenpeacemakers.org next week. It takes Jim a few days to cook the video, so. Um, and part of my job is to say this, and I embrace this part. We are a nonprofit. We offer all of these programs for free. Everything we do is for free, other than our in-person bearing witness and street retreats. So if you can help us out during this donation season, I would sincerely appreciate it at zenpeacemakers.org. And, but but I welcome you from the heart in any event. So there you go. Um, so today, Mike and I don't know each other well, but we just had 15 minutes or so to gab a bit, and it was fun. And you always know when you're going to hit it off with somebody if you laugh within the first minute, and that happened. I can promise you. And Mike's coming to us from the center of Pennsylvania, from Harrisburg, and he's part of a sangha there, and he has a particularly uh, unique approach to what he's going to talk about today, creating your own experience in the world. And I really look forward to this because, as Mike and I were talking about, we're in this. Those of us that are and Zen Peacemakers, despite the name, is not strictly a Buddhist or a Zen organization. We've got affiliates that are Jewish groups and Christian groups, Sufi groups, unaffiliated, pagans, all kinds of people. So we are a big tent, but there's no getting around. We are rooted in Zen practice, and Mike and I were talking about just the really utterly unique situation that we in the West, the Americas, Europe, Brazil, Australia, New Zealand, find ourselves in, um, being really among the first generation or two or three of Zen practice coming to the West. I mean, as Mike and I said, perhaps the first entry was 1895 or so in Chicago. I think it was Soyen Shaku, but in earnest, really, it didn't really start, gathering much momentum until the 50s, and then of course the 60s things really took off, and after that, and here we are with front row seats to how a practice like this moves from China or Japan or Korea or Vietnam, depending on the lineage, to the West, and keeps hold of the core aspects of the practice and either lets go of or morphs the more cultural aspects of it. And I have to admit, it can be a little bit confusing what's what. I practiced with Joko Beck for a few years, and sometimes she had a Buddha statue on the altar, and sometimes she had a rock. And it kept us guessing. Does a rock have Buddha nature? So it's beautiful that way, and we're seeing all over the West just this wide variety of ways that teachers. I don't want to steal your talk here, Mike, but I'm gonna turn it off here in a
Hey,
minute.
wait a minute. That's my. I was going to say that. No, no, go ahead. Steal away.
this, this wide range of ways that teachers are adapting to Westerners, and part of that has included mm, much more prevalence of women in sanghas and in teacher positions, um, much more focus on social action. We have a real kind of democratic participatory streak. So something that wouldn't have happened so much in Japan in the last 50 years, sanghas have taken their teachers down for bad behavior. And that's really a new American or Western kind of a thing that's occurred. So anyway, it's just really exciting. And I've probably said too much, Mike. I'm gonna mute myself. I'm gonna gag myself here and I'll turn this over to you. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thanks so much, everybody, for coming. Thank you, Zen Peacemakers, for having me. I'm very happy to be here. I truly, truly hope that what we talk about in the next amount of time that we have together is helpful in some way, is helpful or at least interesting. And barring that, then maybe it's a little fun, right? Like fun is always a pretty good like second or third place, right? So I hope something here is useful. It's so nice to meet you. So nice to see a couple of names I know. Ashley and Shaughnessy, thank you for coming. So at the core of what I wanted to talk about with you today is about right effort, about the path of right effort. And in preparing for what we would look at today, I I was really kind of racking my brain. What might you hope for? What might you look forward to for this time we spend together? And like a great holy light bulb, it dawned on me. PowerPoint. They would want PowerPoint slides. And so you're welcome. I have not a lot. I promise I'm not gonna drive you crazy with 50 slides and stuff, but mostly just to keep me straight. So I'll share and then I'll go off. And I think there's enough of us here that it's not really unwieldy. Feel free to interrupt me, throw up an emoji or ask questions or whatever. I think we can, if we wanted to be more interactive. There will be parts of it where I'll flat out ask you questions, and you're welcome to participate as much as or as little as feels good, right? Uh, but to kick us off, what I wanted to everybody see that okay? Cool. So here we are. Here's the words of the Buddha from the Sakavibhanga Sutta on right effort. That herein a monk puts forth will, stirs up energy to prevent, banish, develop, and preserve. Right? And I find it helpful for myself to organize these in even simpler terms than this. Uh, so if I'm splitting my practice into, so part of my practice is to keep the bad stuff away and banish it when it inevitably shows up, and to develop the good stuff and to keep it when it shows up, right? And so the whole content of what I want to talk about today is essentially just going to be divided into these four things. And what I wanted to do was share some practices, thought experiments, techniques, modalities that I've found helpful, right? For not only in my own practice, but also in working with others. So I spend a lot of time each week working for a telehealth intensive outpatient program. I lead group treatment sessions, anywhere from 9 to a dozen a week, and I've been doing it for a few years. And this affords me the opportunity to find practices that I think are helpful, but also introduce them to an audience that, in many cases, are not Buddhist. And in fact, if I were to let on that the core of this were Buddhist, that might cause a wall to come up for some of them, right? Just based on understanding, based on where they are, based on their own pasts or traditions that they come from are important to them. Um, but here I can kind of like put the, you know, take the sheet off, right? I don't know how to say it. We can see like, this is where the origin of where this is coming from. But so first and foremost, before I get into the stuff itself, first and foremost, some gratitude. So thank you all for coming. Thank you to the Zen Peacemakers. My teacher, Anthony Stoltz, Sensei Tony Stoltz, formed our community here in central Pennsylvania in the early mid '90s, right? And he counts among one of his most beloved teachers, Bernie Glassman. And I think that the blood of socially engaged Buddhism flows right through. As part of our community, as part of my fellow clergy in our sangha, and being able to take the teachings of the Buddha, or the stuff that is most useful and helpful for ending suffering for ourselves and for others, and being able to march that into the world in some reasonable way. So deep bow of gratitude for them for that. As I learn to help others, the realization that I'm helped, right? That, I mean, just where the rubber meets the road of the practice, right? I mean, throwing aside metaphysics or enlightenment or anything like that, it feels good, right? I just feel better when I'm helpful, right? And also that when I help myself, that I am automatically more helpful to others, that those two things are interconnected in a really meaningful way. And that comes through very much from my teachers. So thank you for that. I also would want to point that all of these come from my own, like, did it work for me, right? Did this self-experimentation to clinical intervention, did this pass the muster where I found it actually like, this is helpful, I find this helpful, right? And then did it meet a standard that I could start to work with others using this approach? It's funny, I was talking to a person just the other day who was a musician who studied at a conservatory. And I know some musicians who studied at conservatories. And one thing I know about them is that a lot of them don't play music anymore, right? Like they studied at a conservatory and they stopped, right? And I asked her, I was like, this is how I asked it. What's your relationship to your instrument these days? Like I knew that was the way to kind of get it. And she said, it's sitting over there, is what she said. And I said, and we got into this bigger conversation about that kind of institution and what it does to someone's love for music and the instrument. And she gave me the best metaphor, and I was like, this is perfect for, what I'm going to talk about today. She said, I feel like conservatories are like a rock tumbler. Like the strongest of us get polished, everybody else gets pulverized. And I thought, that's just like what I want to share with you today. That I'm going to give you the best I got, and know that this sits on a mountain of stuff that did not work well, that got, a hand firmly put in front of like, that's not helpful to me. And in that, it would be reasonable for you all to, in a conversation about right effort, the teachings of the Buddha on right effort, that I'm not going to talk about meditation, which seems like, yeah, that's the tool. That's our go-to, right? And in no way do I mean to insinuate that meditation isn't the right tool, right, for all of those different four elements of right effort. I only mean to say that in many of the clinical interventions, there's a wall to meditation that I find in my experience, certainly open to it being a different experience for others. that clinically meditation and mindfulness kind of get placed into a place of emotional regulation, that it can help one to sort of calm, right? Or a place of refuge to kind of take a break from the busyness of a thought. But the way that in Buddhist practice we think of meditation, we think of, I mean, it's what he did under the tree, right? Like this is what a full awakening happened through this. To relegate it to just a a relaxation technique seems like really chopping it off at the knees. And a lot of the folks that I work with are just not in a place where they're ready to entertain it. So how can we meet them? How can I meet them in a place exactly where they are? A lot of the folks are experiencing very ruminating thoughts, intrusive thoughts. It's a program that works with high acuity folks. In other words, people living with severe depression, severe anxiety, panic attacks, PTSD, existential questions of life, and they do not want to sit and watch their own. They want to get away from those thoughts. And any skillful conversation of, well, we're not trying to quiet the mind or shut that down. We're trying to become friends with the things that is even that is just not there. So I only mean to bring that up because it seems in a talk with Buddhist practitioners that for meditation to be absent seems a little weird. So I at least want to just bring that up. So we'll talk about things other than meditation. The other thing I wanted to mention before I get into them is that everything that I'm going to share, I really like this word experiment. Everything's an experiment. The moment I call something a practice, I kind of, for me, I'm talking about me now. I don't mean to I'm not using the royal me where you're involved too. Like this is just me. The moment I think of a practice, I could fail at a practice, right? Or I'm not doing it right, or I can get discouraged with it. But an experiment, I mean, like I can put it down. I can try it out, and like if it works, cool. If it doesn't, that's okay. That's cool too. I was thinking kind of this funny idea that if a physicist was conducting an experiment and their main hypothesis didn't work out the way they thought it would, like what do they do with that? They write a paper and they publish it and it gets in journals and they're on their road to tenure with their experiment that like did not work out the way they wanted it to, right? What if we could do that with our own practices here, with our own experiments? Like every bit of it, a curiosity, like that's interesting. What's up with that? Well, why did it work that way? So in that spirit, I want to start walking through some things. And yeah, before I get going, I'm going to take a sip of water. In the meantime, any like thoughts or questions at the top of this that feel good to, put them in the chat or just come off and say, hey, whatever is good by me. And no need. All right, let's do it. So, the first thing that I like to consider when I'm considering this stuff is the Noble Eightfold Path and where effort sits in it. In my own practice of understanding the Noble Eightfold Path over the years that I've been walking it, is that the word path is an important part of it. You walk a path. Like that's the idea. Sometimes I think Buddhism is a contemplative practice, and in still meditation and calmness, it can give the impression that Buddhism is about being still, right? And of course, from a mind perspective, sure, but from an active participation in life perspective, it's nothing still about it. I'm gonna say stuff. I'm gonna do things. I'm gonna go to work, right? How can I integrate everything that I know about what's most important to me into every moment to moment? And so I like this picture. I I find it helpful to remember that when I go to work, that livelihood aspect of the Eightfold Path is linked with my view. What is most important to me? What are those things, as the Buddha teaches in the Kalama Sutra, right? Like what are those things that I find to be truth from my own experimentation, right? Not just because somebody said it, but because I've run this through the machinery of my own life, and I've come out the other end saying, this is helpful. This is worthy for my life, right? I'm going to keep this one, at least for now. And how can I apply that in my work? And am I mindful of that, right? How am I doing against it? How does my view impact my intent on my day? And how does my intent carry through in the words that I speak and the things that I do? And am I mindful of those things? And so when in talking about these four components of effort, I'm thinking of the entire path being part of it, that every piece of it is at play, that the path itself is interdependent, right? It's all one thing, man, right? Like the whole thing is together. So with that being said, this first one, prevent the arising of evil, unwholesome thoughts, mental states that have not yet arisen. This big quote here, neurons that fire together wire together. I could have put this on any of my slides or any of the stuff that we're going to talk about. We know this to be true, right? That the way I think is based on the way I always have thought, right? That the default way I approach something is based on the way I've always done it. But the beautiful thing about this is that we know we have brains that are plastic, neuroplasticity, right? That as I change the way I think, that pathway changes, how my default mode of operation changes as well. And we know this, right? You really can teach an old dog new tricks, right? That this is how we learn a new language or how I learn an instrument, right? That I, moment to moment, carve new neural pathways. And so everything that we're going to talk about today is really about that. Small practices, hopefully very simple, not unwieldy or difficult to put our arms around. Again, thinking about the folks that I'm presenting this to, this is kind of a requirement of that, right? That if I introduce some practice that is an hour long every day, it may be wonderful and beautiful, but they're unlikely to do it. And so it kind of doesn't matter, right? So how can I introduce things that are really, really simple that are like learning to play the drums or learning a new language, right? 10 minutes a day in a couple of months, you can play some beats. An hour or 3 hours every 6 months, you're not as much, right? So how can we get to that small thing? And so to start, the magic of a morning routine, some kind of prayer, affirmations, precepts, vows, whatever speaks to somebody, right? In a clinical setting, I would kind of stay away from words like prayer, right? But affirmations show up all the time, right? A question I ask often is, if you had a sign written on your ceiling that the first thing you saw when you woke up, what would you want that sign to be, right? What would be the thing that would wake you and give your heart something to beat to, right? Buddhist practitioners, a restatement of our precepts or our vows. And the one I would like to spend a little time on is an intent set on howness, on how I am. This is, in my opinion, one of the most important practices I think I do. Yeah. The one that I feel has paid like higher dividends than any other. There's, I don't know if anybody's familiar with the movie American Beauty from the 1990s. Annette Bening. There's this great scene in the movie where Annette Bening plays a real estate agent. and the scene she right on, she wakes up and she says, I will sell this house today. Right. And then there's this great montage of her like vacuuming and like washing windows and dusting, and the whole time, I will sell this house today. I will sell this house today. Right. And then as the scene goes on, people come to the open house, right? It doesn't, spoiler alert, she does not sell this house today. And she's crushed, right? She just like slinks down on her wall and just like, and sobs, right? Her intent is based on what? And I'm not asking, like, her intent is based on a what kind of idea, that I will be happy if I can make this thing happen. But the problem is, I don't have control over this thing that I'm trying to make happen. And so my intent is subject to fall apart. But if I can set an intent based on how I am, no matter what happens, then the game can change a little bit. And so I thought it would be fun, or at least interesting, to present this to you in the exact way that I present it in a group. And usually I take some time. We kind of really bake this one. But maybe we can do it a little bit shorter. And it starts like this. Think of somebody in your life who, the moment you think of this person, your heart just kind of glows a little bit. And you're just like, they're good. They are a good person. Right? And as best you can, bring them up, like in your mind. And recognizing fully that nobody is perfect, right? Nobody is this wonderful way all the time. Right. Giving lots of space for that, permission for that. Think of that person who's just a good person. And then, what I would like to do is I would love it if we could quantify that. So, what makes you say that? What makes you say that that person is a good person? What words, if we were going to build a list that said a good person is one who is, what words would show up for you?
Acceptance.
Accepting. Is that okay if I say it that way? Accepting? What else?
Honest.
Honest. I see in the chat loving. I dig it. Oops, I'm messing it up. I'm messing up. Hold on one second. Honest, loving, lovable. I like that. I missed one.
Kind.
Kind. Right on. Forgiving. Forgiving and giving. I love it.
Reliable.
Oh, I'll put it in there.
Reliable. I'll take them however you want to throw them. I love it. Discerning. Did you say connective or connected?
Both, but connective.
Right on.
Genuine.
I love it. I see authentic in the chat too. I love it. Authentic.
Non-judgmental.
Very good. I'm going to spell judgmental wrong, but
Supportive.
I never can remember if there's an E in there or not. Is there an E in there? Supportive. Supportive. I love it. What else? Any others? Simple. Dig it. It's funny, for those of you who practice the Dharma, I'll go back to the list in a second. It's always amazing when I do this list in groups that with non-Buddhists, how often the paramitas show up. It's wild. Like generosity, patient, somebody who's virtuous, has integrity, somebody who's a good energy, wise, right? Able to focus. And I'm always like, wow, look at that. They just show up, right? I just give that because I'm always like, that's pretty cool. Empathetic. I missed empathetic. Let me get that on there. Empathetic. Empathetic typically comes up. Here, let me shrink it just a little bit. Empathetic, compassionate shows up often. Trustworthy shows up often. Courageous. Typically, there's a discussion around loving, helpful shows up a lot, but also able to set boundaries to do this skillfully. That typically comes up. If it doesn't come up on its own, I have a tendency to understand. Thank you very much. Listens, beautiful. Understanding. Listens,
Tolerant.
tolerant. I always make sure accountable shows up, but I don't have to push very hard for that one, because if moment I say it, I see like nods, like yeah, you know, I own my actions. If I mess something up, I own it, right? Which I think is wonderful. All right, perfect. It's a great list, beautiful. And what I think is really worth, there are two things that I think are really worth noticing if we look at this list. Unselfish. One is that, and it could be the audience, right? It could be the way I phrased the question. I get it. But nobody, in all of the countless groups that I've asked this to, nobody ever says rich or powerful or has an incredible job or something about, I don't know, Instagram followers or something, right? Never comes up. It's just never comes up. And I put it on me, maybe it's the way I ask it, but it always looks like this. The list always looks like this. And the other thing that I think is important is if I wanted to be any of these things, what would it depend on, if anything?
How I treat other people.
How you treat other people, sure. But I mean, would I have to wait for anything to happen before I decided to be honest?
It depends on your intention.
Got it, right? In a way, it's sort of a trick question. It doesn't depend on anything. Like, I have all of these in my power. I'm not saying I'm good at them. I'm not saying that I won't fail with great consistency at some of them, right? But if I wanted to be warm or helpful or listen, not listened, all I need to do is decide it. And so in that way, getting back to this first part of right effort, I can very easily change this to an intent. And the language I like for this sounds like this. No matter what happens today, may I be. And then have freedom to choose whatever words speak to me. No matter what happens today, may I be kind. May I be helpful. I may fail at this, but that's okay, because the moment that I fail at being kind or helpful, that's cool, because accountable was on my list. Like, that's the only time accountable gets to show up, is when I screw it up. Like, that's when it gets to stand up and say hello. I find this to be, I have found this to be very helpful, because at the end of the day, I can ask myself, how did I do? Like, was I kind? Was I helpful? And instead of, did I sell this house today being the standard of how my day went, was I kind? Was I helpful? Did I put something into the world that was worth putting into the world? And if I didn't, that's okay, because tomorrow I set the intent again. And I'm starting to carve that neural pathway of a life based on how I am versus what I am. And how I am, anybody. You don't have to be anything. You can be unhoused, you can be traumatized, you can be suicidal. and you can still have an intent to be kind and helpful and to treat yourself with compassion, right? And I have found this to pay dividends. I sleep better. Work feels more meaningful. If I know that a day is coming up where there's something challenging coming on, where I don't know, it's the holidays, as wonderful as the holidays are, they often are challenging, right? And maybe my intent is no matter what happens today, no matter what my uncle says at dinner, may I go easy on myself for how I feel about it. Whatever it is, whatever the words are, but it's a how kind of intent. So that's that one. Any questions or thoughts or anything that, or just reflections that you might want to just feel like saying? Not that you have to.
So, would you recommend this? I know journaling is good for people to do. I friggin' hate journaling, but I think I could do this because I'm real. It's on my list. Honestly, if I had a list and I could look at the list in the beginning of my journal every day and ask myself, was I caring, compassionate, blah, 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 down the list, that to me would be easier. And then the next morning, opening it again and setting the intention today, I'm going to be these things on the list. I think that's an amazing thing to add to practice. And like you said, it doesn't take an hour a day. It can take
No.
30 seconds if you read really fast.
Yeah. Yeah. So great question. And what I would suggest, the way I do it, the actual, how I actually do this is I do it the moment I wake up. Like the moment, you wake up and maybe you lay in bed a little bit, but the moment like I realize like, okay, this is happening, like the day is happening, I'm going to get up now. I say these words in my head, no matter what happens today, may I not be a jerk. And if I am, may I make up for it. Whatever feels right. I highly recommend that compassion and self-compassion show up. Because again, I will absolutely, some of you on the call know me, I will absolutely be a jerk. Totally. That could happen any moment, right? And I need to have space in my intention to go easy on myself. Because if I make that failure of my list, then I failed, right? Now I can't even do my intent, right? So I strongly recommend some element of self-compassion to be there. Yeah. Sometimes the actual words I use are, no matter what happens today, may I be cool. I'm a child of the 70s. Fonzie to me meant something, just like Fonzie. Like I know he doesn't, looking back on it now, he doesn't mean the same, right? But I mean, like I was, 6 years old, and the Fonz was always on the side of right, and he was always helping people, and he was like, that's the impression I have in my head. Probably should not watch Happy Days; I'd be like disappointed. But like that's what I have. So when I use the word cool, I'm thinking of that. Like, may I be that person that steps into the world in just the way I would most want. Yeah. Well, thank you, everybody. So let's do something else. But feel free to stop me if like something comes up and you want to talk about something. Okay. Next one. So the next part of the Buddha's teachings on right effort is to banish the evil, unwholesome thoughts that have already arisen. And again, there's a well of practices, right? Buddha's, just in the texts of Buddhism, there's tons of information on this, right? The Satipatthana Sutta about mindfulness has a bunch in here to consider, right? But the one I would like to introduce and talk to is this idea of cultivating a helpful inner voice. That very often, and by very often, I know I've met very few people who have an inner co-pilot that isn't very judgmental, very critical, right? And in fact, we know from modern neuroscience that there's a reason for this, right? Having an inner voice that tells me I'm a jerk, right, is developed to keep me safe, right? Like if I can snap myself out of it by beating myself up, that might keep me alive. Like Mother Nature doesn't really care how I feel. It just wants me to keep on living and making more of us, right? And so this is a feature of a human mind that is absolutely normal and is absolutely horrible. When I find that I am suffering or experiencing something in my own mind or heart that I'm having a difficult time with, I usually find that my inner voice is not far behind with how stupid I am and why did I do that? Oh my God, idiot, right? And to live in that is awful and normal, right? Like that's just a human brain doing human brain things. But how can I cultivate or develop the ability to relate to whatever shows up in my mind in a way that is helpful? Here's a fun story. And Geoff, I hope you have never experienced anything like this on a Zoom call. But a couple of years ago, I was leading an online meditation, right? Like a Sunday morning online meditation. And it was like pretty well attended for just like some random dude in Pennsylvania, right? And I was like, wow, this is really, really cool. This is great. So, Shaughnessy, maybe you know this story, I think, I'm not sure. And about 5 minutes into the meditation, yeah, you do, okay. She knows where I'm going with this. About 5 minutes into the meditation, somebody whose name on the screen was Susan, right, comes off mute, comes off video, and maybe their name was Susan, but it was a big, huge dude sitting at a desk. And at like max volume, just a blur of expletives, like really awful language, just like really loud. I was Zoom bombed, right? Like somebody was like recording it, like playing a joke or a prank or something like that, right? Luckily, I knew what was going on. I was able to catch it. I ejected the person. I brought the group back into hopefully a safer place to hang out together. And of all crazy things, and I'm not making this up, the topic of the day was dealing with difficulty. So like there I am, like perfect. It was like landed right in my lap. Like this is difficulty. My blood pressure is crazy. My heart rate is racing, right? And the session wound up being just fine. But like 7 hours later, I had like meditated on my own. I went for a hike. I exercised. I like reflected. I scoured the internet to see if I could find this jerk and like do something, right? Basically, 7 or 8 hours later, I was still, I was dying. And my inner voice was reflective of what was happening. How could I let this happen? How could I host a meditation and let somebody like that in? Some of the people that attended were like suffering profoundly, right? And all of a sudden, this like super sexually explicit, like loud voice, just who knows what that could have triggered. And my inner voice was letting me in on it. And almost out of desperation more than anything else, I did everything I could to shut it up. Like to know I practiced and I'm an ordained Buddhist teacher and I should be able to just smile at these thoughts and have them, turn into a flower or something, right? But they weren't. I was still high blood pressure, heart pounding, right? And almost out of desperation more than anything else, I turned to the voice in me and I was like, what? What do you want? My gosh. And I just listened to what it said. And what it said was, we're awful. We're shit. We should have never quit our job. You ordained Buddhist teacher, you're an idiot. You're a laughingstock. You're like, you need to quit this. You could have hurt people, right? And when, for a moment, when I didn't take the fish hook of the content of what it was saying to me and listen to the voice itself, all I heard was scared. Like the person inside of me that was suffering was just scared out of their minds, thought they had like caused harm. And almost reflexively, I like grabbed it. Like, dude, you're okay, pal. Oh my gosh. And this image came up in my head of imagine right now, like we're all on a Zoom call right now. Imagine if somebody you love came into the room and they said to you, hey, we got to get out of here. The house is on fire. We got to get out. Imagine what they would say if you looked at them and you were like, could you please, I'm on this Zen Peacemakers Zoom call. Could you please like give me a minute? Huh? Like they would freak out, right? They'd be like, are you out of your mind? The house is on fire. We got to get out of here, right? And I realized that that's kind of what I was doing to that voice in me. I was like trying to Buddha it, right? I was trying to just like quiet it down. I'm skillful and I can do, right? And it was screaming at me. We're not okay. We're not okay. Listen to me. There's got to be a better way. So this cultivating a helpful inner voice has turned into at present moment, subject to change as all things are. This is probably the most important part of my own practice. Here it is. Bring up someone in your mind who you absolutely love. Like that all you want for them is for them to be okay. And here's the trick. Make it somebody real, right? And by real, I mean somebody you really earnestly feel that way. If you kind of think it should be your spouse, but you would prefer it to be your dog, go with your dog. Go with the one that is a slam dunk home run. Like, I want them to be okay, right? And again, like the first experiment we did, like hold them in front like this. And imagine like that they're right there, right next to you. And then the thought experiment is relatively simple. Imagine that this person or being, they don't even have to be alive. They don't have to be even real, right? They just have to be someone you connect to. Imagine that being was having the exact same thoughts and emotions and feelings that you are having when you're struggling. Same self-talk, same everything awful. Imagine you walk into a room and you see this person or being that you love more than anything, and they're clearly dysregulated or upset, right? And you say to them, what's going on? And they tell you. And what they tell you is exactly the things that are in your own head and heart. What would you say to them? And here, we'll try this out. What is the first thing you would want them to know? What's the first thing out of your mouth? And here's the thing. Don't think about the thing that you think you should say. What would you honestly, really, no doubt, what would you really say to this person? What's the first thing you'd want them to know? Your mouth just opens up and says something. I love you. I love it, Jonas. What else? What comes to mind? I'm here for you. I love it. You are so wonderful. I love it.
You're not alone.
You're not alone. I love it. I won't drive this one into the ground, I promise, but any others just like come to mind. Can I give you a hug? I don't have words. Beautiful. I would put my hand on their shoulder. I love it. I love it. These are great. And do you know what's crazy? I ask this question all the time. Like, all the time. And the answers are always the same. Like, I should do this like a magic trick. Like, where I like now lift the thing. I'm like, see, this is exactly what I knew you would say. I love you. I've got you. You are okay. I wouldn't say anything. I would just hug them. Like, they're always the same. It's always like the 5 or 6 same things, and which are mine too. That's exactly what I would do too, right? Exactly the same, which I think is incredible. If there was ever proof of Buddha nature in the world, here it is. Like, you don't have to attend a Dharma talk or read a book to know how to love the people you love. Like, you know how to care for the people you care about. You already know. And so this technique is nothing other than that. Because now I've got 2 paths to experiment with. The one path is the default in my head that's awful and mean and judgmental and critical. And I know what that one feels like. And the other one, which is no joke, exactly what I would use with the people I love the most. Like, this is that's what I would do. So the experiment is, what happens next if I choose that one? Like, just what happens? What if I say to myself exactly what I would say to my best people? What shows up next? What if I just sit quiet with myself and put a hand on my shoulder? Just like I would. What happens? Highly recommended. Highly recommended. Sometimes I go down in my basement where my wife and child know that I do this and they would be okay with it. But, I go down in my basement and I'll do this out loud and it will sound just like this. All right, dude, take it from the top. Tell me what's up. And then I will just switch to the suffering mic and I will just let him rip. Uncensored, unfiltered, all of the most, I can swear really well, right? And they all go, right? And I just let myself vomit everything that's in there until I'm dry heaving words of awfulness. And then I switch back. And all I do is, what if the people I love the most said that? What would I do? And it usually sounds just like this. No joke, it sounds just like this. I'm so sorry, man. That sucks. That's it. I recommend it. So, I'll share my screen for a moment. Come on. So here are the steps. Notice, call to mind someone you love. Imagine that it's happening to them. And then just imagine what you'd say. And then choose that. That's it. And like any of these things, in therapeutic circles, you kind of hear this with frequency. Talk to yourself like you would talk to a best friend, right? I think what might be a little different here is that this is operationalizing it. Like, actually do it. Like, as an exercise, as a prompt, when I mindfully notice, oh my gosh, I am experiencing suffering, right? Like, suffering has a way of being like the worst kind of blanket, right? Where I'm just completely covered in it. I kind of can't see out of it, right? But mindfulness practice helps us to at least know I am experiencing suffering. Maybe that's the entry point to, okay, How can I talk to myself how can I treat this just like it was somebody I love? And actually do it and see what happens next. All right, I'm gonna keep on keeping on if it's okay. 3, the third one in our list of 4, develop wholesome thoughts that have not yet arisen. And this, in a lot of ways, is just the magic of ongoing learning, right? Like this, like come into this, right? We're reading every day, or I'm sure all of you either have in some way some morning routine that you find really like self-serving in the best kind of way, right? And encourage that. Like, again, neurons that fire together, wire together. Tricycle Magazine has a daily email that goes out with a great quote and then a link to a reading, right? That's one of mine. I love it, all sorts of beautiful stuff. Listen to podcasts, being with your community or Sangha, or finding one, right? And then this last one, create a list of reminders. This is the one that I would like to talk about for a moment or two. So this one is so simple as to be silly, right? But I'm telling you, it pays dividends. I have found personally it pays dividends. What I do is I'm sure all of you, if you're connected to the Zen Peacemakers organization, you're kind of probably connected to other Zen and or Buddhist kind of things. You're reading, you're doing stuff, right? And that's awesome. I have a phone. Maybe you have one too. And on my phone, I have a document, and it is called Reminders, because I'm clever that way. And on my list of reminders is sayings, poems, song lyrics, things that hit me. Like all those times you see something and it hits you. You're like, that's beautiful. That is worth remembering. And then once upon a time, I would see something that was beautiful and worth remembering, and then I would just go mow the lawn and I would forget that thing, right? It would be done. But what I encourage you to experiment with is bring up a note on your phone or a document and write it down. Get it on your list, right? And build a list of your own creation that speaks to you, of the stuff that actually means something, that when you read it, it changes you. Mary Oliver poems. It's probably only a matter of time before Taylor Swift makes it onto my list, but it's only a matter of time before Taylor Swift makes it on everyone's. Probably. I don't know. I highly recommend this. My list is short. If I were to print it out, it would be like a page and a half. I edit it frequently because, quite frankly, when I'm suffering, I don't want to be scrolling, right? I need the stuff that's going to actually help. I find that this list of reminders is winds up kind of being like a little love letter from Mike, who is doing okay, to Mike, who's not doing so okay. And that there's power in reading the list, even though I could tell you what's on it, right? Like I read it every day, right? I've been doing it for 10 years, and I know what's on it, right? But there's something really magical about reading it. And so I strongly recommend, as a practice, to develop wholesome thoughts that have not yet arisen, is to have this list and do that, right? So this experiment is a 2-part experiment. The first part is to create a list of your own reminders. Scribble down the stuff that speaks to you. And the second part is to read my list of reminders, to preserve, increase, or bring wholesome thoughts to maturity, develop, and to complete the wholesome thoughts that have arisen. So that this one that I'm suggesting is 2 parts. Part 1, create a list. Part 2, read your list. I do it as part of my morning routine. And again, it's my list, right? And it's not long, and I know it's there, so I'm not there for an hour, but I'm just like, oh, that's right. That's right. That's I think that's important to me. That first part of the Eightfold Path, my view, right? Those things that I connect to in my own practice, that when I'm suffering are just not there, right? One of the most difficult aspects of working with folks who are profoundly suffering is, and many, I don't have to tell you, I have a feeling you know this, right? When you're in it, it it becomes everything. Like I kind of can't see out of it, right? That all I see is depression, is worthlessness, or you know, awfulness. This list has saved my bacon. Even if I don't connect to it, there are notes on my list that are like, dude, I know you probably can't see this right now, but life is beautiful or something, right? And so I recommend this one. Very simple. And just a couple more, and then that's that. Oops.
Michael, just to add to what you
Please.
were just saying, I was at uh, the mechanic getting the car fixed recently, and I was a little anxious about what it might cost and what was involved. And I noticed that he had these calendars. Very often in garages and lots of places, they have these little calendars. But what struck me about this one was each month only had this beautiful moment of beauty, photographs, landscapes, and each month had a quote, very brief, concise, just as you're saying. And I when I finished, when the car was finished, I said to Scott, the mechanic, I said, I really like your calendar because very often I'm not drawn to these calendars, but this one is just very clear and just full of beauty. And I look at it every day, at least once. I don't even wait for the month to arrive.
Right on. Right on. What a great practice. That's it. I think that's it. Jeff, we were talking about, as you said, how Buddhism has changed and the practices has changed, and like how do we meet the day, right? And I think this is it. In my opinion, I always think of you know Shaughnessy and Ashley King, who part of the Sangha, and McClone. Have probably heard me say this, that Buddhism, when it spread from northern India to Southeast Asia and Asia and Japan, and of course over here, it's sort of it. I always think of it like it was sort of like a risotto or like tofu, and took on the flavors of the cultures that it like marinated in, right? And that's why it looks so different in Tibet to Japan or here or Southeast Asia, right? And I love that, right? And I love that here we are in a very like different kind of culture, right? For all that's wonderful and not so wonderful. And I think that this is just I, for one, am a big fan of embracing this. Yeah, if it's a gas station calendar, home run. I love it. Yeah. So the last part of the path, in addition to reminding ourselves of what we know to be true, to preserve, right? That I have found, and maybe in my experience and working with others, that it is very rarely, in fact, I don't want to shut out the possibility, but I don't have any experience of some new piece of information being the thing that like really is most helpful. that instead it always seems to be something somebody knows already. They just forgot it, right? Or suffering covered it up, or they just didn't have access to it. And so this is why, in this fourth part of the right effort, preserving, that I find leaning into the things that I already know to be true to be the most helpful stuff, like reading my list of reminders, or like you were saying, like formalizing moments of gratitude, even if you don't like to, journal or write stuff, right? But some kind of practice that that'll that leans into the things that are beautiful, even when everything else in life is not real beautiful or is really difficult. An end of the day routine, some kind of, again, revisiting the same thing as the morning routine, prayer, affirmation, etc. And this last one is the one that I lean into. I call it taking refuge in small things. And what this is all about, every day, at the end of the day, right before I go to bed, I try to recall one thing that I connected to that day. Like if I mean, there's the thought experiment. If you were to think of a moment in your life where you felt like just plugged in to the moment right in front of you, right? And it's likely going to be small, right? Like it could be huge, like birth of a child or something like that, for sure. But the ones that like come to mind easily for me are like sitting around a campfire and laughing my head off with my best pals, right? Or a hummingbird at the feeder, or the light coming through the window and hitting the kitchen floor in just a way that there's a little rainbow. And I'm like, oh wow, a little rainbow. Right? How does that happen? It's wild. Look at that. Right? Like, and it's just this, they're small and they're quick and mundane, right? And I just go on with my day into more important things, right? But I've made it a practice at the end of the day, just recalling at least one of them. If I can get 2 or 3, that's amazing. But I'm really just shooting for one. Like the way my little dog's fur smells. Or that silly little laugh, like some kid I don't know at the grocery store laughing, and it made me laugh, right? And I bring it up. And my prayer sounds like this. I take refuge in small things, like, and then I just insert, what did I encounter? What did I meet today? Just like our intent, that was like a moment of howness, not of whatness, but like something that was not in my head, but in the experience. I've found that to be very helpful. And that's what I got. Thoughts, questions, like conversation, anything at all. I know we have a little time, and I'm open for whatever. Yeah. Yeah, Kat, please.
Sorry, it's hard to tell who you're looking at.
No, I get it. Yeah.
So, things, I believe the universe puts things in our path for a reason. Sometimes we try to step over them, but I think even if we do, it's almost like the universe will drop a bigger block in front of us. So I want to thank you for this big block you dropped in front of me, because it's very weird. So first off, the rainbow thing, when I get up reluctantly in the morning, I have a thing where the light comes in through my bathroom window, hits the shower glass, and makes rainbows on various places, depending what time it is, how high the sun is, etc. And that to me is same thing. Oh, there's my rainbow. All right. And I kind of brighten up a little. And the other thing was the irony of the picture you had in the last slide of someone mounding the dirt around a little plant. Because in wintertime, sometimes I get this seasonal affective depression. Yeah. Because I love gardening and I miss doing all those things in New York in the winter. So this year, I'm like, well, I'm going to head that bad boy off. I'm not even going to allow it to happen. So what I did, and I'm going to turn my camera, is I started a bean
All
garden.
right on. Yeah,
So
right
yeah,
on.
I just put little beans in wet paper towels till they sprout, and then I plant them. And every morning when I come in here to meditate with Geoff and the Zen Peacemakers crew, I have my beautiful bean garden waiting for me, and it's just it's been a big help. And it's a little silly thing, like you said, but it makes all the difference. So thank you. I don't want to take up any more time.
No, thank you. No, it's beautiful. And isn't that funny? Me too. I'm not saying this to shame you in any way, but a little silly thing is nothing silly about it. Like that's the whole thing. It's the whole thing. Like, thank you.
Yeah, I just want to second that. I got from this discussion hearing about the reminders, especially David talking about the calendar. Um, there's reminders on your phone, but you could put reminders everywhere, formalizing beauty and gratitude in your life in some way. And I don't do that as a practice, and I think maybe I will.
Right on. Right on. Thank you.
Thank you for this, Michael. It seems like without overgeneralizing, that the basis for this, the doorway, the opportunity, the open opportunity is has to begin in stillness, so that there's enough space between things that happen and my reaction for me to notice that I have a choice, and then inserting intention into that choice and interrupting habit. Well, a lot of what I think I'm hearing you talk about is interrupting habitual behavior, and being silly is a great way to do that because we look around to see if anybody saw us do that. We don't want to be embarrassed, uh, but just interrupting that habitual behavior, which I fall prey to. I have routines. I'm triple type A, so I have routines upon routines. I love your finally. I'll just keep this short. I love your thing about lists. Again, triple type A. I've got lists that are, you know, I do the same thing. And one of the little quotes that I've carried around since Gary Snyder published this 50 years ago or whatever is the last stanza to his poem Frontlines. Some folks here probably have heard me say this, the last five lines, and it just always shakes me and reminds me how insignificant I am and how important I am. As the cricket's soft autumn hum is to us, so are we to the trees, as are they to the rocks and the hills. So anyway,
Yeah.
thought I'd share
Beautiful.
that.
No,
That's
no, thank
that's
you.
a little tool that I use. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. There it is. Yeah. I love it. Yeah, Carolyn.
Mm.
There, my iPad finally. Um, so I don't know if this question's kind of esoteric, but in different talks I've been listening to and readings lately, there's this thing that I've heard over the last few years is that Buddhism is not self-help, and yet I can't help but to think that what else is it if the first noble truth is that there is suffering, and getting to the eightfold path, the way out of suffering. And so I'm curious because that feels like kind of like a heavy downer question after this great lightness and inspiring talk, and which I'm really loving. But it also seemed like, oh, this is a good place to ask that question. So thank you.
Like, no, thank you. And just so I understand, so is the question essentially, do I agree with that Buddhism is sort of self-help, or just my take on that? I my opinion is I really lean into the idea that what the Buddha taught was the end of suffering. Like that's what he taught. And that, traditions are so varied and beautiful. There's all roads lead to Rome, right? Whether it's Zen or Tibetan or Theravadan or right or koan study or metaphysical, yogacara, sort of crazy, um, really mind-bending ideas, like the Avatamsaka Sutra and like stuff like that. But at the core of it, for me, it's ending suffering for myself and others. Full stop. And everything is in service of that. And if you want to call it self-help, I'm in. And by calling it self-help, recognize that we're all like in it together, then I'm in. Let's do it. Let's do it.
I guess I would very quickly like to respond to that question too. And I recently read reactivity or reacting in a situation is reinforcing self-identity. And it seems to me that, for me at least, a lot of self-identity is really wrapped up in a lot of the stories I tell myself or that I've accumulated over the years about they did this, they did that. And they're all stories. They're just my story, my perspective, not really including the other person's perspective very often. And so that line struck me. Reactivity just reinforces this self-identity that I've built over the years that is really based on stories and not inclusive of the other person and the other side of the story. And so I guess what's important for me to remember is that notion of there's the little self and there's the big self. And I, more often than not, if I'm in service to the whatever the big self is, it really melts a lot of those stories. It melts this holding to my identity.
I think what you're saying is beautiful. When I think of like that practice, refuge in small things, and thank you, Shaughnessy, for bringing up my book. That when I'm doing that, when I'm thinking, when I'm recalling the deer, right? Like, where was Mike? Right? Like, I spent so much of my life in my head, in the story of my life, and am I good? Am I bad? How did I screw it up? How am I not good enough? Right? But in the things that I connect with, like plug in, whether that's art or music or being in nature or whatever, like Mike's just kind of not there, right? Not that he disappeared entirely, right? Like I'm the, as the Buddha taught, any of these things have three components, right? There's the thing, there's the hummingbird, there's the eyes that took the hummingbird in, and there's the mind that like consciously created that experience, right? And so I understand that like there's a vessel that's kind of taken part of it, but like that story's just not there. How can I use that as, or lean into that as, yeah. And if I do an inventory on my most favorite moments of my life so far, none of them were promotions, or like cars I traded for other cars or something, right? They were all those moments, big laughs and big hugs and the death of my father, right? Not pleasant, but so meaningful, right? Like, yeah. Yeah, Angie.
I'd like to say something about what you brought up, Carolyn. I think that self-help um, uh, issue with Buddhist. I used to be a religious science practitioner, and in it, you did a lot of affirmation. But the problem is that that whole line of thinking can easily go into trying to keep stuff away rather than allow everything to be as it is. And I think that the self-help community and the Buddhist community, there's been a lot of intersection between them, and the difference between the two, that I've been made aware of, is that one is using affirmation to create a castle in the sky kind of a thing, as opposed to really taking in the suffering as well. And I think that a lot of Buddhist teachers have a problem with the whole issue um, of not including suffering in the whole picture.
I, I think that it might be that I have not studied what kind of self-help has become as sort of a, a larger study of a certain focus. And um, so I'm thinking of it like, yeah, I need some help. And that I think other people would feel that way too, that suffering is a gate, to learning about this, the Dharma, and to do these things. So I might have been thinking of the term more broadly, but it's good to know that it might also be a lot more specific than I had been thinking.
Just maybe to add, and going all the way back to the beginning with what Geoff and I were talking about, the different sort of face of Buddhism these days. We take refuge in the three jewels: the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha, and traditionally those are, mean something kind of specific. But I also find it helpful or valuable to expand the idea, right? That the Buddha is the example, that like I can be free from suffering, just like he did. The most special thing about the Buddha was that he wasn't special. He was just a dude, and he was able to free himself of suffering, just like us. We all have Buddha nature. The Dharma, right? Traditionally, the teachings of the Buddha, but that could be DBT, that could be self-help books, right? That there's a path, that there's someone who was able, that proved you could be free from suffering. There's a path in the Dharma to free ourselves from suffering, whatever that is. And the Sangha, there's a community of people that we're in this boat together, and we work on this together. And I find that helpful to think of it that way.